Alright guys, let's make an update on the price of Bitcoin, what is happening on our crypto market. So basically we are still in this sideways price action zone, but it's still telling. So first of all, we had this recent drop, after we had this rising wedge, and you see I have this descending wedge here, which is broken to the upside, ascending wedge, which is broken to the downside, descending to the upside, and now ascending to the downside. So pretty much technical behavior of our asset. So what we're having here, we have this massive drop, and well, it is accused that we have this news from Tesla, which has suspended their vehicle purchases using Bitcoin. They still say that cryptocurrency is a good idea, but they say that mining of Bitcoin and they use it is using fossil fuels, and this is not a good idea. So this is not great for environment. So that's why they did what they did. Yet they still support cryptocurrencies, but what we see is that the market reacts like that, and this is usually not a great thing, because the more impulsive we see behavior of the price reacting on news, the more speculative nature it has, meaning that it is not so great if we want to have stable growth. On the other hand, I personally believe that this is not the real case. The thing is that we had the drop in traditional assets like S&P, Dow Jones, Nasdaq, and everything. And it's pretty correlated with Bitcoin. So as you know, the capital is pretty much distributed all over the place, all over the markets, different markets. So especially when we see the drop in the traditional markets, then the highly risked assets are following. That's what we see with Bitcoin basically. On the other hand, I must say that Ether is actually holding pretty strong despite its recent rise. So it is kind of stronger than the market, but the fact that it is a second capitalization coin after the Bitcoin, it's not that great to see the higher risk assets going faster than the most reliable one. Basically meaning that a lot of people are trying to gamble. But well, it's still temporarily, and short term it's a good thing. So what we see now is that there are few reasons, points of concern here. First of all, we dropped below this support line over here, this long-term support line, and now we're below that line. Also, let's look at the moving average on a daily time frame. If we plot it on the period of 100 days, then we see that we tested it here before, and we see the massive surge from that point, which is great, because this is how you see the reaction of the price from the moving averages on the bull market. Instead of current case, here we have the price dropping much lower, and we don't see the bounce. We don't see the price trying to attack this moving average and holding above it. Not yet at all. So this is not great. Of course, it might be not so dangerous, but it's a point of concern. Also, we had this triangle, descending triangle here on RSI, and we saw the price dropping below it and then returning. So that drop was pretty scary, exactly when the point of the price touching the moving average, and then we returned back. So it still was kind of hopeful, but now we're below this support again, and it became resistance. So it's also not the greatest sign. Moreover, if we look at the monthly time frame, and let's switch to BLX index, on the monthly time frame, we have a pretty nice confluence among all the indicators, having the highs and the bearish crossovers. Let's see, RSI, stochastic, MACD, they all have pretty much similar behavior. Like you see, RSI having the highs, its highs on every relatively long cycles of the price action, and here we have RSI going down already. MACD, the same, pretty much the same thing. Of course, we had the same similar intersections here. So you may say we might be somewhere in the middle of the cycle, but you see how well those other signals are matching. So you see the MACD. We haven't seen MACD so high before, and now we have this histogram of MACD going down. So you see this bright green monthly stick on the histogram. Pretty much every time when we had those, except some early stage of the consolidation, we had the following bear period for the market. So this is exactly what is happening right now. If you look also at the dominance, it's so low, it's 40%. Considering the capitalization of crypto market now and then before, it's very, very low. So a lot of the dumb money in the assets which are very risky, and this is very close to the boiling point usually, and this boiling point leads to the massive dumps and the blood all over the place. I don't say that we need to sell everything right now because it's too early. We still can see a decent move to the upside. We can see $60, $70, $80,000 or even more. It depends, but it's definitely a point of concern. Every correction which we see in the market is a potential change, flip to the bear period. So do we have it right now? Nobody knows, but what we need to do is we need to react accordingly. So maybe set a stop order, maybe set like a mental stop order, maybe see some key levels. If the price drops below that level, then you should consider selling like half of your holdings, something like that. Generally here though, what we see is that this green rectangle you see here, this is the zone where we are for a very, very long time already. So generally, if we will get the price going lower than that zone, it's very likely that we will continue going even lower, maybe something to $30,000 or $35,000, something like that, where the previous high volume area was. And instead, we need to see the price going much higher than the previous high, and with a confident move, then we might say, okay, this was accumulation and the next target is much higher. So be careful with that and please consider this. I would like to show you some paper though, some articles, sorry, about the investors in cryptocurrencies which seem to be losing their confidence by crypto whale. What he says is that he basically looks over several like companies, for example MicroStrategy, and he's saying like Michael Saylor is not the greatest person in the world in terms of like reliability and person which you would trust and so on. So he lost like 90% of his worth at the dot-com bubble period, and also some SEC accusation is running right now. So maybe we shall not believe that he is the honest supporter of Bitcoin. He was saying before in early days of Bitcoin, 2013, that Bitcoin days are numbered. It seems like just a matter of time before it suffers the same fate as online gambling. So maybe he just wants to get money from it instead of genuinely supporting the technology. Tesla is selling millions of dollars of worth of Bitcoin. So it's something like you should consider. So they bought, now they sold. Well, it doesn't mean that they will not support it at all in future, but this is definitely not it's different from the situation if they just hold it without selling at all. So Grayscale, another huge company, the investment holdings, so their clients, their demand from their clients is flat for very long recent time, and before we saw the continuing rise of the demand. So would it be enough of the demand to keep price rising? It's hard to say, but this is definitely not the continuation of the previous trend from that point. So he also mentioning the Tether issues, that Tether is printing from the thin air and basically pumping the price of Bitcoin. So that's how we see the price going up. and this is the valid concern. So just wanted to show you something which is not so bright, because everybody is so positive right now about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general and altcoins, and I would like to raise your attention to the fact that we shall always be careful and like try to see both sides. So there is no really the reason to go and dump all your holdings, but still please consider this accumulation zone, and let's see if this zone is accumulation or this is actually distribution. That is it for today, but I will make new videos on some fundamental things about the price of Bitcoin going up and why it should have some corrections, which we don't see so far, so it's immense. And also I'll tell you what is my stance on how the price will move in the next months, or maybe like a year or two, because it's really different this time than it was before. That is it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time in the next video. Goodbye.